Welcome everyone to L2R2, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Fonzie, and I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev extraordinaire, and UK bro from another mom, Callum Monroe. Callum, how are you doing?
I'm very good. I've just sort of noticed that you call me extraordinaire, which is it's nice, but I don't know if it's accurate.
I like to
But
put a lot of hype behind you, so you have to live up to that
yeah,
hype.
yeah, yeah. I sort of feel like a lot under pressure now. Like I've got to live up to being an extraordinaire. But
You got to live the life that I can't live, Callum.
in fact, to be fair, I don't think anyone even knows what an extraordinaire really means. So I can sort of bend that definition to sort of myself to what I am.
You could fail extraordinarily, so there you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Well, how you been, man?
Yeah, all right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always talk about the weather because it's always changing in England, but it's a bit bleak at the moment.
Mm.
And also with like lockdown, everything's starting to like ease slightly because and I feel really bad for you guys over there because I know that you guys are like getting to like a new height of like lockdown now, which must be
Yeah,
horrible. But
it
we're
sucks.
sort of at the moment anyway. We're sort of like getting back down to like when lockdown started, so. We're getting like minimal sort of cases and things every sort of couple of days.
That's awesome.
But it's sort of making it even worse in some ways because now I'm like I really want to like start returning to normality, but um, I still can't because I still, we've still got to make sure that we're being, safe because we don't want
Right.
it to go back up. So it's sort of like, when you're so close to something but still so far kind of thing. So um, hopefully within like the next few weeks, it'll start getting a bit more normal. But like I went and got my tires changed on my car and booked it in for its like MOT and things. So it's
Oh,
getting a little bit. So I thought that I'd use that as a way to like try and return some normality back to my life because I sort of was starting to think I can't remember how to drive. I don't remember anything that I have to do. So I thought this will like kick me back into doing some productive things that I've done outside of living at home. So, but yeah, how are things over your end?
pretty good. You're right that our numbers are terrible. So it's like, so we're nowhere near getting back to normal. But you do bring up a good point where it's like eventually it does kind of, we do bounce back and we get into that normal time frame before all this started. And like, how does that look like? Are we going to be way more skittish to, and resistant to like go out in large crowds? And even if
Yeah,
we can, I think there is going to be a bit of a delay before people feel comfortable unless they
yeah.
get this like vaccine going. But I keep hearing that could take a while for them to actually like nail down.
Yeah, yeah, I can't imagine that even when everything is, back to normal, back to work, and you can just do whatever you like without being told off
Right.
or being frowned upon, it's still not going to feel right. Things still will feel strange. You're still going to have that in the back of your mind. I mean, this experience is never going to leave us. Like we're always going to remember that time where we couldn't leave our house for months and months on end.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's definitely going to leave a lasting impression on everyone. There's going to be, I suppose, probably many years before things actually feel normal again. I mean, I'm sure it will eventually become like a memory, so it won't influence us that much, I'm sure, in a few years, because obviously, eventually things just replace other things. Like you get used to, what's been happening. So, but
Right.
yeah, it is strange. And like I was saying, as we're starting to get, or in certain areas, we're starting to get to sort of the end of it, it's feeling like that it's even further away because we can finally see that sort of end in sight. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing my friends again and just being able to do things outside the house again because I'm starting to miss it a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. So I've been watching like a lot this whole week, and not a lot of video games, but watching a lot of movies. And I keep thinking in the back of my mind, do any of the movies after this point like reference COVID? Like, is that people walking around in the street, are they wearing masks, or they just pretend like it didn't exist or didn't happen at all?
Yeah,
I wonder how they
yeah,
tackle that.
yeah. Well, that's something with my game I'm making at the moment, or my graphic novel, which is set sort of in the future, in the near future. That's something that has influenced my backstory a little bit with what's going
Mm,
on now, um, and I think it definitely will. I mean, especially if something's got like a deep sort of political setting, that this is definitely a shift that's going to affect things like that. So yeah, I think it will surely affect stories and in movies and TV series and everything. But yeah, it's a good point. I think it's definitely a big shift. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, not comparing the two directly, but you know, when you have like a big war or something, that's always, you know, referenced in things that are set in this sort of world. So yeah, I think it's just been going to become another one of those big phenomenons that leave a lasting impression everywhere.
How long till we get a good romantic comedy that's based in COVID and they have to wear the masks and it's a whole like dilemma?
Yeah.
I wonder when they start.
I don't know. I don't know whether like it's going to be even attractive for like a viewer because you know after this is all out or all finished, I doubt like a story set during lockdown is going to be something people are going to want to watch because it's just like so bleak and
Right.
boring. Um, that you know, I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to like. Oh, there's this new rom com that's set in that time when we all had to stay at home and all hated it. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's probably interesting for some people, but yeah, I think you know, I think there will definitely be a lot of movies that will try and do that, but it's not something that right now in this instance I'd want to watch because it's very raw at the moment. You know,
Right.
it's very boring. So I wouldn't want to see that right now.
Yeah, if anything, we want to escape all this stuff that's happening. So yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, hoping it gets back to normal. Did you do anything to take your mind out of the shit show that we're all living in right now?
Yeah. So I've just been, I mean, doing basically what I've been doing for the past few months, playing games, doing some work, and watching some TV. I've been watching The Expanse quite heavily.
That's a show I need
Which
to get into. I mean, you told me it's awesome. I keep hearing it's awesome, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I've just started series four, which is from where Amazon like took it over.
Mm.
And yeah, it's really cool. I like it because it has like a storyline that actually changes its seasons. So like it's not like each season has an arcing storyline, which it does, but the overarching storyline is so good that it changes the season. So like season four is just completely different to any of the other seasons
Oh, okay.
that I've seen so far. But it's the same character, so you still have that like attachment to it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I've been doing a lot of reading as well. I've been, I mean, since sort of like the beginning of the year, I've been reading the Last Kingdom books, the books that the series was based on, and I've nearly finished all of those now. I think there's one more to come out at the end of the year.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, just been trying to consume lots of things whilst I have the time to do so. But game wise, I've been playing. Well, I finished Mass Effect 3, so I'm done with Mass Effect,
Whoa.
which I'm sure we can get into.
Yeah.
I've been playing a little more of Assassin's Creed Origins and Persona 5 as well, but I don't have a huge amount to say about those two that I haven't already said.
Are you? Do you think? Because I keep seeing you post about Persona 5. Do you think you're gonna try and like finish it and follow through? Like I would have quit a long time
Oh yeah,
ago with.
yeah,
Okay.
100%. I'm definitely interested in the story, but I don't actually think that's what's pulling me through now. I think it's just more the fact like I know that when I roll credits, which is coming up, I mean, in the next sort of 10, 20 hours, I hope.
Jesus.
Um, yeah, when I roll credits, I will get the platinum trophy. Like I just need to complete it,
Okay.
and I've got the platinum. So that's sort of helping me get through, because that's quite a rarity. I mean even though the platinum trophy is not hard, it's basically just do everything at least once and then complete the game and get the best ending and you'll get it. So it's not a difficult
Gotcha.
platinum, but the fact the game is so long makes it difficult in itself because it's like a bit of a marathon. And there's not many times where like you'll complete a game and then get the platinum, so you'll get that like
Right.
satisfaction of finishing the story and the platinum trophy. So it's kind of just helping me want to finish it. You know, I'd feel worse about leaving it half done or three quarters done or nine tenths done probably.
Right.
If I also had like 99% of the trophies or whatever. So, but no, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong. It's a really awesome game. It's just so yeah, it's just so long.
Yeah, that's I'm thinking back to like the Xbox 360 days. They were games where just by completing it, rolling credits, you would
Yeah,
unlock all the achievements. And I wonder if there might have been some PS3 games back then that were still like trying to
yeah.
figure out the whole trophy
Yeah,
mechanics and
well,
like how long to.
I think the Telltale games used to do that, but I think they
Okay,
then got rid of platinum trophies. So they were just like you get 100% of trophies, but there isn't a platinum in the list.
interesting.
It's just 100% of the trophies. But yeah, like I remember the Walking Dead series one. the Game of Thrones game. You just complete the game and you get like a trophy for every chapter, and
Yeah.
they're the only trophies in the game. So yeah, they were like that. But yeah, I think there's so many like less heard of games that just put easy trophy lists in. So I suppose for some, like, I wouldn't call myself like a hardcore trophy hunter. I like to get platinums on games that I enjoy. Like, I don't buy games just for the easy trophy list, but I know that that is what some people do,
Right.
and I know that some game companies use that as a way to sell copies. Like, there's that I Am Mayo game where you literally just tap on a jar of mayo like 1,000 times
Oh,
and
I've
you
heard
get
of
a
this.
platinum
Yeah.
trophy, and it's like super popular. Like, it's had so many like that, like buys and things like that, just because of how easy it is to get a platinum. So yeah, it's definitely something that's considered, but I don't see it as much in like mainstream games anymore.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, you know me. Like, I just have the one trophy, so I mean, I did kind of debate going with The Last of Us and trying to follow through, but I guess I have to have my own natural drive to play it,
Yeah,
and
sure.
then,
Yeah,
but with The Last of Us, I kind of dropped off in wanting to try and platinum that, but I don't know, maybe
yeah,
one day. But I just don't have that. I think I realized I just don't have that drive to finish a
yeah,
lot of these games. I mean, most of the time for a lot of stuff, like in my PS4 backlog, it's a lot of games I started and never
yeah,
finished, and I'm terrible
yeah,
with that. Well, I'll just kind of jump in, and something else distracts me, or it loses my interest, or I just buy it and it sits there like my like a Steam library. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, that's what I'm like. I just There was a point because I wasn't always sort of that into getting trophies or achievements or whatever. Um, but it sort of was when I like would look at my trophy list and I'd just see all these like 1%, 2%, and I'd just be like, it just looks like you know, don't like commit to any games or anything. And so that was where it sort of spurred on. Then when I got my first platinum trophy, I was like, I just felt like so good about it, and I was like, I really enjoyed that sort of feeling. So it just went from there, really. But yeah, I'll platinum a game. If I love a game, I'll like go for the platinum, and I'll always look at the trophy list for a game that I'm playing. But I'll never play through an entire game I'm not enjoying just for the platinum trophy.
right.
Just because I can't like. I think Black Mirror, that game I played on PlayStation Now, which I
Oh yeah,
hated. I played through that and didn't mean to get the platinum trophy on that. It just popped when I finished the game. So that could be an example, sort of against what I said. But yeah, I didn't even mean to. I didn't even look at the trophies on that. So it just
yeah.
came naturally.
With you finished, so now having finished all the Mass Effect games, how
Mm.
do you feel about tackling? Because I imagine you want to jump into Andromeda now to kind of like get a perspective of all four and the fallout that happened with Andromeda.
Yeah, so I I definitely am going to play Andromeda. I think I bought it on the Steam Summer Sale because it was about like £12 or something. But yeah, I'm not going to play it yet just because I played like Mass Effect 2 and 3, especially. I mean, Mass Effect 3 I played like over a week and just finished it just because I really enjoyed it. And I was so invested into that story. But I feel like if I was playing Andromeda now, I'd feel a little bit burnt out on just that whole
Sure.
kind of game. I've been like consuming a lot of sci-fi recently, and it's not something I normally do. Playing Mass Effect, watching The Expanse. I think there's a couple of other sci-fi things. I've been playing like Halo and Gears of War as well, a
Oh,
little bit. So I'm sort of going to try and take a break from that, ease off the sci-fi stuff a little bit, and then return to Andromeda once I've had a bit of a break from that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I loved Mass Effect. I mean, I'm now like officially a massive Mass Effect fan, which is pretty
nice.
crazy because I've spent most of my life like detesting it. Yeah, it was awesome. Especially the second and third game. That it's an amazing story. I actually on the Kindle app on my phone, I bought the first book. That's sort of there's these three books that like fill in the gaps between some of the games, and they're written by the guy who wrote the games as well, so they're really genuine. Um, and yeah, I'm just really into that universe, really into that world and the characters, and the games are just yeah, they're fantastic. They're definitely worth a play. And I think as somebody who always spoke ill about them because of the first game, I know there's lots and lots of people out there who are with a similar train of thought. I have to say, it's worth just getting through the first one, and then because then it opens up all these personal feelings to with the second and third, which I think are definitely worth the hassle.
Gotcha. Yeah, I need to one of these days. I need to jump in. I know they're doing the
Yeah,
remaster, so maybe that's my
yeah,
jump in point. But I don't know what they'll actually modify as far as like changing the gameplay, at all, or it's just kind of touch up the graphics. But I guess what would you recommend if they were to tackle, at least with like the first two? I imagine were
yeah.
rough around the edges. What would they have to tackle to bring someone so it's more approachable?
I think the I mean the second one's fine. I think some of the issues I have with the second one are mostly just to do with like its action pieces are a little bit boring, a little bit samey. They're very easy games as well, in
Mm.
terms of the combat. But the see, I played it on PC, and I could tell that, especially the first two with like the UI, that they're made for console. There's a lot of like weird UI interactions that feel like it's kind of like when you play. I don't know if a Warzone's the same. I know PUBG was like it, where you're playing it on a console and you have to like move this cursor with your analog stick, and it just feels like you're meant to have a mouse there. It's
Right.
kind of like the
Yep.
opposite. It's kind of like the opposite effect where you know that this is waiting for an X button, so you need to like tap something twice or something like that.
Mm.
Um, so it's difficult for me to sort of the UI definitely needs changing in a remaster. But I think just touching up the visuals a little bit, especially on the first one, because the first one didn't even support 1080p on PC. So it was very rough,
Huh.
um, and loading screens were a bit of a pain. Just general accessibility stuff, just to make it a bit more enjoyable to play through for the first game. I think the second and third are fine. I don't think they need much other than touch ups on the graphics here and there. And the third one, I had some real technical issues with, and I think that there were lots of technical issues on the PS3 version as well. So maybe some touches up there as well, but no, I mean the second and third game, to sort of separate them from the first game, which would need quite a bit of upheaval just to make it more, like I said, satisfying to play through. The second and third, I think, are absolutely fine. I think, like I said, a quick touch up to the visuals, maybe some higher resolution support, and those games are good to go. Um, so yeah, I might use that as an excuse to give them a second go,
Yeah.
as well, because they're so unique to your playthrough that there's a lot of things that could have gone completely different for me. I've never played a game where the small decisions I make in the first game are still referenced in the third game. It's just the level of sophistication in that respect is just incredible, and so that it definitely warrants a second playthrough for me as well.
Yeah, that's where I imagine it gets stronger. The fact that you grow with these characters and you have hours and hours you spend to where they make those
Yeah,
references, you just feel that
yeah,
more engaged, and that kind of plays into the strength of it, where it's like you have to
yeah,
stick around for so long. Because I think I did try when I first got my PS3, and it was like years into the generation, but I bought Mass Effect 2. And you can kind of like
mm,
preload or select what your character would have done in Mass Effect 1, and
yes,
it just kind of
yeah,
autofills or creates like a storyline. But I just didn't have that connection because I was just making these decisions and I had no idea what crucial things I
yeah,
was deciding. And then you just
yeah,
load up. But yeah, you're
yeah,
definitely right where it's like that's just a huge strength having that history with these
yeah.
characters.
Yeah, I think that it's just so unique and personal. I mean, there's so many times where I was sort of like in awe at just the idea of how different it could have been. Like the amount of characters that could die, the amount of characters that could still be alive, and how that would affect the story. I mean, I was talking to my sister, who was really angry with me because I let one of her favorite characters in the first game die, and I had like no attachment to this character at all. Like that's why I didn't really care that he died. Um, and she was like, "Oh my god!" Like she was like, "It's going to change the third game so much." And then so when I finally finished the third game, I talked to her in detail about how my story rolled out in that particular scenario, and it was really interesting. And at the end of the second game, there's like a suicide mission, which I think I talked briefly about last week, where sort of some of your characters might die depending on your decisions. And I lost two characters. And my sister said, "Oh my god, you've got to reset the mission. You want them in the third game. You want to like be able
Mm,
to continue their story arc in the third game." But I said to her, "I get that, but like." It feels so personal and unique to me that I kind of want to keep them dead because I want to know how my choices have influenced like the rest of the story, kind of thing. And
right.
it's a powerful thing that the game can do that. It just speaks volumes to the way it's written and designed.
How are did you romance anybody? How did that component work? And
So
was it
I didn't
cool?
until the third game. I didn't even like get close to. I didn't even get the choice to in the first two, and I don't know why. 'Cause I understand the first one. I didn't really spend much time in like the hub of the Normandy where you sort of have these interactions. But in the second game, I was really like on my team and speaking to them all the time, making sure they were happy. 'Cause that's how the second game wants you to play. It wants you to make sure your team are happy and loyal. Um, and the third game, it sort of just happened out of nowhere, really. So yeah, that wasn't really something I really. I know a lot of people care for that side of it, but I wasn't too bothered about that. I loved like Shepard's relationship with all these characters, the relationships that I had built like personally with them over the games, but I was just interested in that sort of attachment. I wasn't too bothered about that sort of aspect of it really, which is yeah, I mean, I don't really mind. It was cool when it happened, to be fair, because it was like in a film, you know, when a character gets with a character, and you sort of always wanted to see that happen. It was cool when it happened, but yeah, it's not something that for some reason, it just didn't present itself the opportunity
Mm.
with me for some reason. So I don't know if that's just how I spoke to the characters, and but I think it might be just the way that I perceive Commander Shepard. You know, I perceive him as like a very proper man who is trying to fulfill this mission. He like treats
Come
them
on,
as
he's
his
got to blow off
squad.
some steam every once in a while, Callum.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got to
exactly. Yeah.
relax a little
So
bit.
yeah. So in the third game, I did feel that I was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. Like this is a good sort of arc for him. And yeah, it was just yeah, it was really cool. I mean, 'cause my sister was like telling me about how she used to how she romanced this certain character, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I wonder when that opportunity is going to present itself. But it just never did. So it must have just been me the way I controlled Shepard. But
Right. No one wanted him because you're just
yeah,
so
yeah,
strict.
because of the
And
way. Yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't mind just having them put out the romance only version of the game. Like maybe that's the what I'm more interested in than just like I could just
yeah,
romance
yeah.
people. That's it for about a good
Hey,
solid hour.
hey, I'm sure you can find some good stuff online if you look hard enough.
Yeah, I always found it interesting. You can like romance aliens. You can do this like interspecies kind of stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
which is wild. Yeah, go for it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts you can do in it, and there are a few times where like, but I don't know. It's also kind of like because the game does make you feel so like deeply about these characters to the point where like it kind of friend zoned them all for me because it's like I've been
Mm,
through so much with all these characters that like
yeah,
yeah like but and the character I ended up romancing in the third game. She was a character I hated in the first game, and then she's not really in the second game at all. And then she like returns in the third one. So it was kind of like, so I hadn't really been through as much with her like recently, but like we had like a history, so it kind of made
yeah,
sense in that respect as well. So I think, yeah, I think just like the way I felt attached to these characters, I didn't really feel like I'd want Shepard to be emotionally with them anyway, or romantically with them anyway. So it actually worked out exactly how I perceived the story personally. So I think again that's just testament to the game understanding the story that the player is wanting to get from it.
gotcha. They understand. Okay, this player's a wet blanket, so let's not give him any of these cool options. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's one. I don't know. It's also like with shows. There's so many good shows out there. Every time I hear about a new one, it's like okay, I got to commit all this time, but I don't know why I feel that way. This resistance, but I know that Mass Effect is such an awesome property, but it's like it's a
Yeah.
matter of getting
Well,
through that.
they're not that long, to be honest.
Okay.
The first game I got through it quite quickly because I wanted to get through it quickly, and it took me about like 17 hours, I'd say. The second game, the second and third game, well, the second game I spent longest with, and that was like 28, 29 hours maybe. And the
Mm,
third game took about 22, 23 hours. So that they're very manageable. I mean, the three of them all together are still shorter than Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So
damn. Yeah.
in comparison with sort of like big games now, that they are quite focused, and they tell good stories, and they don't have a lot of filler. Everything's very focused and has a lot of attention put into it, which I love, and I think they're perfect examples of games that prove they don't need to be these 80 to 100 hour long experiences, because if they were, there's no way they'd be as personal to the person playing them as they actually are.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it's a solid franchise. I don't know if I'll ever jump
Yeah.
in, but I highly respect it, and yeah, I want to see what they continue to do. Like they're
You
working
just want
on
to
was
play,
it
don't you?
Yeah, I just want to bang aliens. I mean, so if they can just kind of dial that into that solid experience, then I'm on board. It's my life's goal is to do that somehow. So I mean, although I have a deathly fear of aliens, of like the traditional, like big black-eyed, green-skinned aliens. I've always been terrified of them since being a kid. I don't know what it is, but
Oh,
just
don't worry.
terrified.
That there's lots of different aliens in Mass Effect. You'll probably find one for you. You'll find one that it's
That's
kind of
good.
like catalog shopping, sort of like like a brothel in Amsterdam or something. It's you've got a lot of choice, so don't worry
Okay, that's good.
about
Yeah, it's good to know.
it.
Good to know, Cal. Well, yeah, we'll jump into some of these news articles here. Not a whole lot going on, but we can shoot the shit and look over them. So let's see. One of the first ones is the Sony patent. So Sony patent suggests PS1, PS2, and PS3 could be backwards compatible via the cloud. So this is of IGN. Jordan Allman has article. A Sony patent has surfaced suggesting that PS1, PS2, and PS3 games could be emulated via the cloud. First posted to Twitter by user Renka Schedule. The tweet can be translated into English, at which point it reads, a large number of game titles across PS1, PS2, PS3, and various generations of game consoles can be stored and used via the cloud gaming library. These games can be run on a virtual machine that mimics the operating system associated with each game console. It continues. The accompanying image shows drawings of the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 being emulated into separate screens. It's not clear how this would be achieved or whether it is tied to the existing PlayStation Now system. It could be that the virtualized operating system solution is a means of not having to build backwards compatibility technology into the new hardware, although this isn't mentioned in the patent documents. Later in the thread, Renka Schedule posts information from another patent which suggests that the users would be able to record and create mini games from their gameplay and share it with friends via the cloud. That sounds as though it could be associated with the new DualSense controller's Create button, and previous Sony patents have mentioned scene tagging, which could allow players to record playable sections of games and share them. And there's a very boring schematic or patent that shows literally like, oh, it's PlayStation 1, it goes into this thing, and then you play it. But yeah, so what are you thinking of this concept? Is it kind of a I imagine this is just an easier way to get backwards compatibility because it seems like they struggled with getting the hardware components to emulate, with like going to PS3 and now PS4 and PS5 now. Is it maybe just an easier route to take with getting your back catalog there?
Yeah, it sounds just like PlayStation Now, to be honest. It
Hmm.
sounds slightly different in the way that with PlayStation Now, you use this, cloud emulator for the PS3, but it sounds like they're just going to lump in the PS1 and PS2 into this so that they can access more titles, I suppose. Because the PS2 games that you get on PlayStation Now, they run on your PS4. They're PS2 games that you can buy on the PlayStation Store that are remastered for PS4. Um, I don't know if you've seen like they've got like the PS2 Classic, you can get like Max Payne
Right. Yep.
uh, and all those. So maybe this is just a way of them being able to lump in like loads and loads of PS2 games without having to worry about remastering them to work on the console itself. You can
Yeah.
just emulate a PS2 via the cloud. So it sounds like I hope it's not going to be streaming, but it sounds like it will be. But um, yeah, it sounds all right. I think as much as I would love backwards compatibility, I'd rather that they didn't like restrict themselves in terms of their like system engineering or anything like that, just to make sure it works. Because at the end of the day,
Mm.
I want to play new games on the PS5, and at very least, I want to play PS4 games that look better and run better on
Right.
the PS5. I think I'm past the point now. I mean, I've had the PS4 not being backwards compatible. I've had the PS3 not being backwards compatible, except for the first version. I just kind of think like I'm just used to it now. I just want to play new games, but yeah, I think the most important thing is getting PS4 games playable on the PS5, more so than the PS3, PS2, and PS1.
What do you think about this concept of using that create button on the DualSense, which is there and it says create? We don't really know what it does yet, but what do you think about the idea of them partitioning off these little like PS1, PS2 levels basically, and you sending it to a friend or playing together? It's a unique idea.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to get some functionality tied into this as well, because that's something I don't like about PlayStation Now is when you play a PS3 game, like your share button doesn't work and
Mm.
it feels very like disconnected. Whereas this at least would make it feel like it's all encapsulated in the machine still. Um, So yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I like the idea of this create button. I love the share button on the PlayStation. I think it's really intuitive and works really well. Gives you lots of easy options. So yeah, I'm excited to. I suppose that's two things. I'm excited to see more about the create button. I'm excited to see what all of this means as well.
Yeah, no, me too. It's a cool idea. I know with PS4, I feel like I remember them launching and showing this off with Knack, where you could work on a level and then send it off. I think this is a feature that's still there, but I've never used it. Where you can,
Mhm.
it's share play, right? Where you can play a level, send it to another person, they play it, and kind of send it back and forth. I know that's an existing thing, so maybe this is
Yeah,
something like that. But I've honestly never talked to anyone who's ever used that feature. I'm not sure. They never really promote it now either.
yeah, yeah. I've used it in the thing where you can get someone to watch you playing.
Okay,
Um,
yep.
I've used it in that respect, but yeah, I haven't done it where I think South Park does it, where I think maybe the second South Park, which has like co-op, I think you can like have people who don't own the game play with you anyway,
Oh,
um,
nice.
and like that. So yeah, that's I like you said, I've never used that either, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's still a good idea regardless, and if they can sort of finesse it a bit more and spread it out to this new backwards compatibility thing, then that'd be really cool.
Yeah, no, they're kind of going up in this uphill battle rather with Xbox because they have not only the backwards compatibility, but it's like physically if you have the disc, it works on all these different on the current Xbox One and then the Series X. Like they have this full
Yeah,
a catalog of stuff, and Sony's trying to kind of gain that ground, and this
yeah,
helps with that. But it's definitely like Xbox is in the lead with that kind of thing.
yeah, sure, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll see. This is good graces to have with gamers for them. The next event you'd imagine when they have this PS5 like first party or third party event in the summer, they could drop this bomb and say, hey, all the backwards or all the games in the previous library are now playable. And yeah, it's not something that we talked about. It's not something that appeals to me. It'd be cool to jump in and play the random super old PS1 game every once in a while, but I want these next gen games or consoles rather to play next gen games. That's what I'm interested in,
Yeah,
and you can find secondhand consoles now, but I guess it is still demanded in the community, but
yeah,
it's just not for
yeah.
us.
I think that's fair enough. And when I say I'm not too bothered about it, that's not. I don't mean it's not an important thing for the majority of people. I know that it's hugely important, and even if I wouldn't mind, I'd still see it as a bit of a ball drop if they don't in some way include it.
Right.
Even by making it cloud based, and maybe if you have to stream it, that's still a bit of a ball drop in my opinion, because that people don't want that; they just want to be able to play the games. But personally, I'm not too bothered about that. That's not going to make it or break it for me with the PS5. But yeah, like you said, there's a huge audience that is going to make it and break it. So it should be something that they think about and consider.
Yep, I agree. Cool, Callum. We'll go to the next one here. This one, I'm not sure if you're watching this footage yet, but this is about a huge leak that happened last week with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. A bunch of gameplay was showing off, and so I'll go into the article and we can kind of pick apart a little bit of this footage that I have. But this is
Mhm.
a boss fight in 30 minutes of Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay leaked online. So Push Squares, Robert Ramsey has the article. 30 whole minutes of Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay has somehow hit the net. The footage first showed off on YouTube before it was swiftly removed by Ubisoft. Since then, it's been re uploaded multiple times, but the publisher is pushing hard to get all these videos taken down. We have one. It's still, there's a bunch of them online. As such, we don't have an embedded video for you. So in any case, we'll do our best to describe. So we're going to go and describe the actual footage here, but we have some footage we can go over. And then this is all leading up to this weekend, 12th of July. There's a Ubisoft Forward event where they're going to show off possibly this stuff that leaked, but they're going to show off Assassin's Creed Valhalla in detail. But were you avoiding some of this footage? I wasn't sure if you kind of want to go in fresh, or do you want to check out this trailer here, this gameplay
Yeah,
rather?
yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to check it out. I just skimmed through it now just because I wasn't sure if we were gonna watch it together or whatever, but I'm happy to do that. But yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but the link I had was awful quality. Like
Mm,
as in I couldn't really make out anything that was going on that well.
yeah.
But the one I just clicked on now seems to be quite good. So yeah, I'll be happy to go through it and then we can talk about all the outcry that's been happening online about it.
Yeah, so I watched the initial, and I don't know if you got that email, but I downloaded it because I thought, okay, this is gonna be taken down. But there was like initially 30 minutes of this playthrough, and that was taken
Yeah,
down and then re-uploaded a bunch. But it looked, overall fine to me. But then I guess people were kind
Mm,
of critical of what was going on, but maybe I didn't look with enough detail
yeah,
over what was shown. But I have the video going up now. I just kind of started from the beginning, but
yeah.
it looks like the first 25 seconds here. Well, how do you feel about this? The character running around. I feel like the world is beautiful. This is possibly from the PC version, but you'd have to imagine like the PS5 would be close to
So,
that.
so have you put on the boss fight video, the 7 minute one? Is that the one
Yes,
you put
yes.
on?
So
Yeah,
I'm
cool. Yeah, yeah.
38 seconds into it.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I'm about that. Yeah, I think it looks. I think it looks fine. Obviously, it's a work in progress, so
Right.
certain things are gonna change. And like I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins, so like the first of this trilogy, I suppose. And I get that it does look even similar to Origins, which is obviously the one before Odyssey.
Hmm.
Even I mean, the HUD's pretty much exactly the same. Even the names of the arrows are the same, like
Oh.
Predator arrows, Hunter arrows, and everything. So there's a lot of similar things. But I don't mind that. I don't think that's a problem at all. I don't think they have to change the HUD. They don't have to change these things to make it a separate, or a good game. Um, I think from playing Origins at the moment, I love the setting. I think the setting's awesome, and that's what keeps me coming back. I like just exploring. I think it's probably the one of the best realized game worlds that I've seen as well. I mean, it's the
Hmm.
only game where I'll get to a city and I'll use the eagle to look around, or I'll open the map just to sort of get a lay of the city and what's around it, because it's so well realized. Like, you'll have like the city of Alexandria, and on the outskirts you've got farmlands, and it's split into like poorer sections of the city, and it's just very, very well conceived in that respect. Um, so yeah, I don't care that it looks the same. I don't care if it plays the same. I want to be able to explore this time period and this setting, and yeah, like I said, I don't care how it looks or plays, because that's not what I am enjoying this new style Assassin's Creed for. So
Right. No, I would agree. I mean, that's what I'd expect too with these newer Assassin's Creed games. They have this kind of engine dialed in where they want it to. You're getting a new map, you're getting new characters, new storyline, and little kind of adjustments here and there and mechanics. But I would expect basically the similar kind of style of gameplay. This does remind me more of Origins versus the last one that I'm blanking on, Odyssey.
yeah,
Especially with this boss fight too. I think I do remember seeing footage of Origins boss fight where you're fighting, because there's these points where you can fight like mythical godlike legends, in Egypt, and you'll fight them. I'm
hmm,
not sure how that works with the storyline, but you'll fight them and they have powers and stuff. And this seems like that, where it's this kind of round arena where you're just one on one. And I know I've seen
yeah.
like an Origins a boss fight like this, but other than that, no, nothing really bothers me about it. It looks dope. The I imagine we're going to see it looking slightly better when they do finally show off the footage of it. And I wonder if too the placeholder things you mentioned for like the arrows and whatnot, if that's just them using old placeholder stuff from Origins, and that's going to be changed too. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with the arrow, it's because you get like different types of bows. So you get like a predator bow, which when you aim it, it like goes into first person, and you got the hunter bow,
I
which is
see.
a different one. I think it might just be that they've just got the same variants of bows, which again I think is fine. I don't really see that as a problem. I think the systems in the game are they're just that they work well. I mean, they're
Right.
it's a very motivating and enjoyable gameplay loop to find better gear, to upgrade all these different bits of gear. So I don't think that needs to be changed. I don't know why people are expecting it to be changed. It obviously wasn't changed for Odyssey, because this is how, unless they've gone back to Origins or whatever, because I haven't seen Odyssey really. Um, but that's the other thing as well. People didn't complain about Odyssey, and Odyssey is pretty much setting wise the same as Origins, because I didn't know this until I started playing it. But Origins is set in Egypt when it was a Hellenistic state, so when they worshipped the Greek gods.
Hmm.
So it's not very dissimilar in the setting. Whereas
Gotcha.
this completely is. This is a lot more dull. I mean, it's a lot further along in time as well. Um, it's good. So it's going to be a completely different feel, I feel, around the world and the setting. And I think that that is the main point of these games. Every time I play Assassin's Creed Origins, I go back to it because I like being in this Egypt. I'm not too bothered about the story or the characters or anything. I just find it fun to explore this place, find these little question marks on my map, investigate them, and get better gear. And yes, I might have a different opinion by the time I play Odyssey. I might be burnt out with that gameplay loop and then be kind of peeved about this. But yeah, I just can't see that happening because I don't think that this. I think the thing that keeps it fresh is the new setting, is the new characters, is the new things to see. So yeah,
Right.
I'm excited for now, but. Even after saying all of that, I can see why people would be irritated. You know, certain people might have wanted change. Might have wanted something a little bit different. So I think there's definitely an argument to be had. But I think the general complaints about how it looks, how people like comparing still images to The Last of Us, and I just think that they're
Mm.
not comparable. Like this is an open world game. Um, which isn't made by the incredible talent that Naughty Dog have. I'm not saying that Ubisoft are untalented, but they just have different sort of things they're striving for, different amounts of quality they're looking for in different areas. So I don't think that's really a fair comparison to make or a fair argument to make against this game either.
No, and I mean, it's like apples and oranges because I mean, with Valhalla, it's an open world game like you mentioned, but it's also across different platforms, different generations now
Yeah,
too, with all the different schematics or specs they need to be able to hit. So it's got to be scalable. So it's not going to have the benefit of from being built from the ground up, for like the PS4, let's say with like Naughty Dog.
yeah,
But I think, granted, given that they're still able to achieve a lot of high fidelity with an open world. I mean, I'm looking at this footage and
yeah,
it looks pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure in the Push Square article they mentioned this is a PC version of this demo. But you got to imagine next gen stuff. It's got to look at least as good as this. And it
yeah,
looks dope. That boss fight had a bunch of smoke effects and rain going and all the physics, and it's all a lot for that engine to handle. And I think it pulls it off. No, I wasn't. I didn't really have any negative, feelings watching this, but it seems
no,
like I don't know. I don't know what people expected them to change. It's a formula that works with these last two games. So what would they really want to change? Because
yeah,
everything works so well. So I feel like they're not going to throw out
yeah.
the entire engine and kind of recreate this when it's perfect right now.
Yeah, and I just saw the map zoom out there. That looks awesome. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot. I will say I do probably have a bias because I love this setting and I love in fact the entire story. It's set around the historical story of King Alfred and the Vikings invading. And obviously I live in Britain, but just seeing that map come out, it looks awesome. I mean, being able to explore all of Britain, which you can see, and I just think I'm just really excited, and I just think I don't know. It's a tough one because I can sympathize with people wanting it to look next gen because it is a next gen flagship simply because of the time it's coming out. And I can sympathize with that, but I think people just are just trying to find a way to complain.
That's the thing,
And
though. All the next gen games that we've gotten used to with previous generations, anytime it's in that transition phase and it's multi-platform, it always looks slightly better, but not like blowing your hair back. That's always the case.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it happens every generation. So I don't know what are we forgetting that, or people just kind of being critical just to be critical. It's like you got to wait a couple years for them to really kind of reinvigorate or adjust their
Sure.
engine, where they're
Yeah,
not stuck with that old framework. They can like just focus on that current next gen platform. So that's kind of like what's
yeah.
always been.
Yeah, and I'm playing Assassin's Creed Origins on my PC, and it looks amazing. Like I mean, it doesn't. There's certain things where, like, I know obviously it's slightly outdated, like in certain areas in terms of detail. But if
Mm.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla had the exact same graphical fidelity as Origins does, which again is 2 games prior, I'd be happy with that. I think Origins looks viable today.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't really know why people are criticizing the visuals because one, it's a work in progress, and two, it's going to be at least as good as Odyssey, which is in turn as least as good as
right.
Origins, which I think looks lush. So yeah, I don't think I just again I can sympathize with the argument of it looking like a reskin. I can sympathize with that, but I just don't understand the arguments about the visual fidelity of the game because one, I don't think it looks that bad, and two, I don't know why people are suddenly comparing it to these single platform, huge budget AAA games like The Last of Us Two.
Yeah, kind of. Well, they're stupid. That's why. That's a bunch of stupid people out there, and
I didn't
everyone
want to
has a
say
voice,
it.
and all the voices
Yeah,
are
yeah,
valid, and yeah, it's that's
yeah,
basically what's going on.
yeah,
Um, All right, Callum. Yeah, we'll move on to our next one here. We got this one was interesting. It is Microsoft news, but I think it's relative to just the whole conversation with the pricing for next gen titles and kind of the battle that's going to happen there. But the original article here is from Jordan Allman of IGN. Xbox reportedly tells developers that next gen upgrades should be free. A report has surfaced that suggests Xbox is telling third party developers that Xbox Series X upgrades of their current gen games should be free. VGC, which is Video Game Central, which cites publishing sources with knowledge of Microsoft's next gen policies, says that Microsoft has been encouraging companies working on cross gen games to offer upgrades at no additional cost. This could make use of Xbox's smart delivery program, where you only need to purchase one version of the game to enjoy it across the entire Xbox hardware range. So far, we've seen that third-party games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Cyberpunk will offer next-gen upgrades at no extra cost, but this push from Microsoft will attempt to stop their publishers and developers from charging full price for next-gen versions of cross-gen games, or for an upgrade to be provided as a paid DLC option. We've already seen the NBA 2K 21 standalone Xbox Series X and PS5 editions will come in at a $70 price point. Yeah, Callum. So to pull out of this, I do feel it's interesting because there was some heat that NBA 2K21 was gained because they're demanding that $10 extra price point, and here Xbox is saying, well, let's try and hold off as much as we can from these developers charging that. I guess it's just good on them as a company, or they're trying to like ease the flow into next gen. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this smart delivery thing because it's nothing new. When the PS4 came out, this happened with PS3 games. I remember having Battlefield 4 on PS3 on disc, and with the PS4, and it came with a code which you put into your PS4, and then you have it on PS4 as well. I don't know.
Mm,
I feel like this is just a good marketing thing from Xbox. They know that PlayStation is suffering in the backwards compatibility sort of stratosphere, so they're trying to, I don't know, I feel like they're trying to like use that to emphasize this whole thing. Because yeah, I mean, I don't, I might not know enough about the smart delivery thing, but from what I've heard, it is just being able to buy a game on your Xbox One or your PS4, and then being able to get a better version of it on the next console. And
right.
if it is that, I just don't know how that differs to what we already had with the PS3 to PS4 jump. But again, I might have some things wrong there, but I just know that I did it with Battlefield 4 and it was seamless, and I know that around that time there was no grumblings about that, and I know that a lot of people were able to do that. So I'm not sure, but with the new price point going up, I suppose it is a more of a contention point because these games are going to be more expensive. Um, Although saying that, I'm pretty sure when the PS4 came out, I think PS3 games were still cheaper than PS4 games if they were both the same game. I don't think. I'm not saying that PS4 games went up in price. I think maybe PS3 games went down by like $5 or something.
Mm.
Um, but I know that there was definitely a discretion between the two prices anyway. So I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about it. Again, I might not have. I might not. I might be a little bit wrong in what I remember, but I'm pretty sure that's how I remember it. But yeah, it's at least they're. I mean, I suppose I'm picking apart something that is all good, because they're doing this to, I suppose, to make sure that players don't get screwed over. So I can't complain too much. But
I wonder also if they're trying to lighten the blow and the hesitation to adopt next gen too for consumers. Because if they hear in the news all games are jumping up $10, they're like, well, why do I
mhm,
want to upgrade to this next gen system? I wonder if it helps them. At least Microsoft is saying it helps them sell consoles if at least for a year, if they kind of lock down any third party games, any like multi gen games that are caught in that transition, those are all the same price. And then it's not until we get into like the full swing, once everyone has adopted these next gen consoles, we start to demand that higher price
yeah,
point. But I guess it
yeah,
gets harder then once you're in next gen to now just like magically charge $10. Like, do you have to? Maybe it's better to
yeah,
pull that band aid first and start it right when you jump in, or if
yeah.
it's once everyone has the consoles, then you start to demand that higher price point. I'm not sure when the best point in time is to do that.
Sure. Well, I think because I don't think it's like you're going to be playing $70 because this game is going to run better. Because then that would mean that games should be more expensive if you've got a good PC or whatever.
Right.
Um, I think they're just using this new console generation to finally up the price because it'd be hard to do it, midway through PS4 because then everyone would be like, why now? Whereas now they sort of have a time to sort of like, it's kind of like a fresh slate, isn't it? Like a new
Yeah.
console generation, so they can just start pricing games higher. So I don't think I think if you buy Cyberpunk on Xbox One for $60, of course the upgrade should be free because you're not rebuying the game. You already have the game. You just bought it at a lower price on a different console.
Right.
But then if you want to buy it on Xbox Series X, it's going to cost you $70 because that's how much games are on that console. It has nothing to do with where you're playing it. It's just how it's happened kind of thing. So yeah, so I don't think I think it is definitely a way to think about it. You know, well, this isn't an Xbox Series X version of the game, so I'm gonna have to pay more to upgrade it. But I don't think that's where the increase in price is coming from because you know wherever you play it, these games are still being made for the exact same way. And they're still having loads of money spent on them to be made. So yeah, I'm not sure that that's why the price increase is there. I think again, it's just used as like a sort of a landmark time to do so.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing for years and years these companies have dealt with the skyrocketing like budget prices, and they wanted to transition to a higher
Yeah,
price point, and this is the time to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of it's all a weird muddy situation. Like when do you try to introduce this to the customers, and when do they do they push back, and how do you let them have a free upgrade, which I dig. That's a cool thing for like if you're transitioning, and especially I think it's maybe better for those early adopters because they're jumping in right away with that console. Maybe you cut them a break and you have them do that free upgrade option, but as you get into it further, the people that are taking longer to jump in, or maybe when they jump in when there's a price reduction on next gen consoles, then I don't feel so bad for them because they waited
yeah,
longer and they got a cheaper console.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know, but I mean, I think we do agree that like a lot of these games demand $70, and it's rightfully so. Like say Cyberpunk and like say another,
yeah,
something from Naughty Dog, like or Rockstar, like those all demand that price point. It's
yeah.
just I don't know when the best time to do it is, and I guess now with next gen transitioning, you got to imagine they have experts and just people who can fully understand like when is the right time and how do we adjust it and by how much and basically how much
Mhm.
can we squeeze from consumers too before they complain too much. Like there's a whole
Yeah,
science to that as well.
yeah, yeah. Because I think what I was trying to sort of get at was like I think from this article they're trying to make it out that are you going to be charged for upgrading your game because the game would have cost you more on that console?
Mm,
But I don't think that that is the point. I don't think that they're not charging you an extra $10 to play it on the better console. They're charging you an extra $10 because this was a good time to change the price of games. You know, it's nothing to do with um, the fact that they're about to play it on a better console. If I'm making any
right.
sense,
Yep.
but I feel like that's the narrative they're trying to get across. So they're like so it kind of makes them come across as good guys because they're like, oh no, we can't let developers charge people for upgrading their games because the game's going to cost more. But I don't think that was ever the point anyway.
No, I think you're right about that. Yeah, it is. It's an interesting time, and especially when you go from current gen to next gen and pricing and
Yeah,
all that. But
yeah,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, and then that's another issue or bag of worms. It's like there's free to play games. Those free to play
hmm
games that are still charging nothing to get in. Do those? Do the prices per item, like say with Fortnite, you buy skins, do those prices go up because you're playing on next gen? Do they are
yeah,
they waiting to raise the price there, or say with
yeah.
like Warzone, they charge you for all these different little cosmetic stuff? Do those prices also go up because they're going into next gen? Because those are budgets that are restricted because they're free games, but they hope that you buy stuff. So do those
Yeah.
price per item things go up? I'm not sure. You think they would? They'd also have to scale
Yeah.
if the base model of games are scaling too.
Well, well, I think it's a bit because I mean, like we've said, there's only certain games that should have the price increase. For example, games like Cyberpunk,
Yeah,
which don't have microtransactions. So the only way they're going to make money is by people buying the game. Whereas if you look at Fortnite and all these free to play games with the microtransactions, they make hand over fist uh, millions and millions of dollars, probably more than even a game like Cyberpunk, which is going to sell huge amounts. I'm sure that even the lesser popular free to play games will make far more money than CD Projekt Red will with Cyberpunk. Just because that's how the microtransactions market works. You know,
right.
people rather than spending $60 or $70 even once to play the game, people are paying maybe $20 every month on microtransactions, which in 4 months' time they've already spent more on that game, even though it's free to play. They've already spent more on that game than the people who bought Cyberpunk did, and that's obviously going to just keep going up the longer they play it. So, so I don't think that they need to shuffle those prices. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, just that, like we saw with NBA, just using that rhetoric to charge to get more money. Um, but no, I think that the only time the price needs to go up is for games like Cyberpunk or like Last of Us. These games that have insane budgets, and the only way they make money from their consumers are from people buying the game. So I don't think free to play games should be affected, or should increase any of their prices in their markets, in their marketplaces. But I wouldn't be surprised if they used this to do that as well.
They might. Yeah, that's very true. But I think you're right. I don't think they are the ones that should be able to demand that raise
Yeah,
in price. But
yeah. So
yeah,
I doubt like
right.
still making a massive profit. But it's just unfortunately with how capitalism works, shareholders and big executives get a huge chunk of that. And then
Yep.
after that's all been dealt with, that's when that money's being spent on the budget. So unfortunately, the problem is a lot deeper and a lot more requires a lot more intellect than I have. But um, but yeah, for games like Fortnite, which are just making like stupid money, I definitely don't think that they're included in this kind of sort of debate.
Yeah, no, very true, very true. We'll see how that goes. I mean, we're in the in the next couple months, we're getting right into next gen, so we will
Yeah,
see
it's a
how it goes.
good time to clear my backlog when I can't afford any games anymore.
Right,
I'll use that time to play all the games in my backlog.
exactly. Yeah, there's no excuse now.
Yeah.
All right, come. So our next one here is about Horizon Forbidden West. So Horizon Forbidden West writer John Gonzalez exits Guerrilla Games. So this is from Push Square. Sammy Barker has the actual article here as I load up my other little thing. There we go. So, for Horizon Forbidden West narrative director John Gonzalez has left Guerrilla Games, moving to a new AAA studio in Barcelona, where he'll be tasked with building an original open world with a new cadre of like-minded, crazy ambitious devs. It's unclear exactly which team he's joined, although online scuttlebutt points to Smilegate Barcelona, a new studio founded by the South Korean creators of Crossfire. Gonzalez, who also wrote Fallout New Vegas, played a massive role in the development of Horizon Zero Dawn. In addition to creating the title's overarching lore, he wrote 90% of the main quest and served as an editor to other writers. He's also contributed heavily to the development of the title's forthcoming PlayStation 5 sequel. His resume reads, created the game's story and major characters, designing the narrative flow of the main quest beat by beat, collaborated intensely with the design to unite narrative and gameplay, and with art to realize the game's new tribes and key locations, wrote key cinematics, conversations, and other content. With the follow up due in 2021, it's likely that Gonzalez's work on Horizon Forbidden West is largely complete now, and after spending over 7 years in Amsterdam, it's no surprise that he feels ready to move on at this point. So yeah, Callum, I feel like this is often, these people that are working on the projects, once their side is done, they're taken off. I wonder if he's finally done with this, because this is a franchise now, you have to imagine. Will he come back for another entry? But how do you feel about him exiting this project?
Well, he's got quite the resume, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Created the game story, and it's talking about Horizon. I'm sure he'll be able to walk into anything. Um, but no, it's exciting. I always find it exciting. I mean, that sounds really weird, but I'll explain myself. But it's exciting when someone with, especially a writer or a narrative director like him, who's got a huge pedigree, working on Fallout New Vegas as well, leaves to join a new studio, because then that means that something new is being made there with him at the helm. So
Yep.
I always like it when. Like when Ken Levine left and started his own studio, it's always exciting to see what's going to come out their minds. So
Which Ken
um,
Levine, we haven't seen anything like another project yet, right? I found that nuts. Like no one really talks about that.
yeah,
That was years ago.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think he's sort of one of those like immortals in the industry who just, he's just left
Oh
alone
yeah.
to do his thing, because everyone knows he's a genius. But yeah, no, yeah, I like you said, I think we're especially with writers, once they've written everything they need to do, they're always wanting to move on to that next idea. I can't imagine I would want to work on like the same franchise forever and ever. So maybe he had a new idea and wanted to start that. So yeah, I think it's exciting. And yeah, um, it's interesting to sort of think now, because if he's the main director of the narrative, and Horizon's a very narrative heavy game, especially with how its open world elements work as well, you'd wonder how what that means for the release of the second game, because if his work is largely done, then does that mean that all the quests are written up, and everything in that respect that needs directing is done? I mean, it might not be. I'm sure they've probably got somebody who is working, just underneath him, who will fill that role and take over if needed. But
Yeah.
it's definitely a talking point in terms of maybe that game's closer than we think it is.
Yeah, no, very true. I wonder if he's basically, because he's created this world and they have a blueprint. Now they can follow that blueprint, and he's
Mhm.
able to kind of take off and work on other
Yeah,
things.
yeah, it could be
Um,
that. Yeah,
yeah, no, it's you're right. Where it's awesome to see these huge people in the industry, this with that kind of writing pedigree, work on something
hmm
new. I mean, it's only gonna be awesome for other for gamers to experience
yeah,
this level of story with other components. I think there was even like comics and other lore they built around that world too. I never jumped into it, but there's like a bunch. Even I want to say there's a book possibly where they kind of delve in more into the story.
yeah,
But that's what I
yeah,
always liked about Horizon Zero Dawn was the like trying to understand why society fell apart and all that stuff
yeah,
behind it. Um, Although reading the article and having to say Horizon Forbidden West always trips me up. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that being the new
yeah,
name.
yeah.
If they could have worked in the new Dawn something, I think that would have just flowed a little bit better. But it always
Yeah,
trips me up saying that.
yeah, it is. It's one of those things, isn't it? It'll sort of it's like when you get like or when you first hear about the PlayStation 5, it feels weird, it doesn't quite roll off the tongue. But
Right,
then after it becomes real, it sounds completely fine. Or like if you get like an iPhone, I don't know what iPhones are doing anymore, but if you get like an iPhone 13, it
right.
probably sounds really weird when you first hear it, but then as soon as you're used to it, it sounds like the most normal thing. So hopefully it will be one of those where soon we'll be saying Forbidden West as if it's our own name.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you? That reminds me. Are you more of a Android guy, Apple guy? Do you go back and forth?
So I had an iPhone. I think I had an iPhone 5, 5S, I want to say. And then I went to Sony, which was an awful phone. And since then I've
Yeah.
had Samsungs. I've currently got a Samsung. I've had like three different Samsung Galaxy phones, and I've now got the Note 10 Plus. And yeah, the Samsung phones, in my opinion, obviously, are just incredible. The because the thing, this is slightly going off on a tangent, but the thing with
Go
like
for
the
it.
Android versus iOS thing is like not every Android phone runs the same version of Android. So like if I was to base my Sony phone I had and base every Android phone on that, I'd hate Android phones. But Samsung has its own version of Android, has its own software, and for me it is just an amazing phone. I love it. But yeah, I don't. It's I don't really. I have nothing against iPhones. I just am out of that sort of loop.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same for a while where I think for the most of my life having a phone, it was all Android
Mm,
based stuff. And just last year, I switched to iPhone for the first time, just on a
yeah,
whim. Like, I think my contract ended, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try one of these. And I
yeah,
got the iPhone SE 2020. So it's like a newer,
yeah,
smaller version, cheaper version of like the newest iPhone.
yeah,
And it's cool. It works. It's basically a phone. Like it has its own little
yeah,
quirks with how you navigate the
yeah,
menu and blah blah blah. But really, it's just the same kind of phone. The 90% of why I wanted to switch gears or switch to a different platform was the fact that all the cool cases, I feel like those are locked to iPhones. Like any cool
yeah,
case I find, because iPhone is like the standard, the most popular,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
where they all are. So I was just sick and tired of seeing all these cool fucking cases, and it's like I want one. Okay, I'm just gonna buy this
yeah,
goddamn phone,
yeah.
and so far it works.
Yeah,
Just getting used
uh,
to the different quirks and
I've got
stuff.
a really basic case because there's not really much you can get for these phones.
Yeah, did you say it was like the Xperia or what kind of phone is it again?
It's a Samsung Note
Oh,
10 Plus, so it's really big. It comes with like a little stylus, so I can draw on it,
oh, dang,
or
okay,
which I don't really use, but it was a
yeah,
cool idea.
right.
But no, yeah, I love it. I got it because it's like just ridiculously fast, and it's got like 500 gig of storage. It's got like
Dang.
16 gig of RAM or 12 gig of RAM or something ridiculous. So it's basically like a little computer.
Yeah, that's
Um,
dope.
but I also like having Android for like my game dev stuff because to bring a game out on iOS for phone, it's very difficult because you've got to pay like yearly for a developer's license.
Uh,
There's just a lot more loopholes, and it's quite. I've heard it's quite finicky to get your phone into developer mode, which because iPhones are very restricted in what you're allowed to download and do on them.
right.
Whereas like Samsung phones and Android phones in particular are very open source. You can download literally any files on them. You can get like emulators on them and all sorts that there's no restrictions basically. So in that and I like that about it. A lot of people don't care. They like just having a phone. So iPhones are good, but I like being able to download emulators, download files on off the internet, and just do little things. And yeah, for developing it's great as well. So I think just get whatever you want. Really, I do. I like to sort of, especially with my friends, like have little like playful banter about phones.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're all phones. They do what you need them to do, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, no,
And they're
that's exactly
ridiculously
it.
expensive as well. I hate how expensive phones are, but
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, especially like if we compare it to like next gen stuff. Like we're all used to paying $800. Like, oh, a lot of people aren't paying out of pocket. Like I'm not paying out of pocket. I go to
no, yeah,
a subscription plan where they kind of offset the
yeah,
costs on my monthly bill. But the
yeah,
retail price of these phones are $800,000 phones
yeah,
devices. And so, but then
yeah,
we'll also complain with our next gen console releases, like, oh, if they go past $500 or whatever
yeah,
that
right,
area,
yeah.
that's insane. But it's like a lot of these things are crazy expensive already. But
Yeah, and you can get all of these that you'll be able to get a PS5 on finance easily. It
right,
depends where you buy it. And like you were saying with the phone, like the phone's base model is normally what, like about $800, $900, but when you pay for it monthly, they slap on all that interest. You end up paying like $1,200 easily.
exactly.
Um, and which I mean, I don't like spending that much money ever, but yeah, like you said, the reason it annoys me mostly is because the sort of perspective, people like will be rocking, the highest iPhone, whatever that is, and which will cost like thousands of dollars, and yeah, and then they say like this brand new PS5 with this amazing technology, you're gonna play it like nonstop for like 7 years. It's going to be $500, and people were like, "What, $500? How am I going to pay that?"
Right.
So yeah, it is funny, but yeah,
That's the plight the of human beings. We just find things to complain about, basically.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
all right, Cal. Let's see our last one here. Just some news about Crash Bandicoot. Moving over to mobile for this interesting mobile game. So, and I have the trailer here too if you want to check it out. But Crash Bandicoot mobile game on the run officially announced. So Jonathan Dornbush of IGN has the article. After a soft launch earlier this year, King has officially confirmed Crash Bandicoot on the run, a mobile runner featuring the platform mascot, is officially on the way for a wider launch on iOS and Android phones. King announced today that On the Run is currently available for pre registration on the Google Play Store for Android phones and will soon be available for pre register on the iOS as well. On the Run features Dr. Neo Cortex along with his henchmen, aiming to take control of the multiverse. Crash and Coco will venture through various levels that harken back to the classic Crash regions like Temple Runs, Turtle Woods, Barrett, and more in the new Runner game. Levels will include secret paths for players to find, much like any classic Crash experience, and boss battles will see returning villains like Scorporilla, Nitrous Brio, Nina Cortex, and Dingodile. And yeah, that is the article there. Callum, do you care at all? I mean, this is it's a PlayStation property, or really used to be a PlayStation property, but on this mobile version, does it tickle your fancy? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think I like Endless Runners. I think they're fun little games to play on mobile. I think this could be a fun little game, and it's cool. Like with the new Crash announced, it's made me want to get back into the Insane trilogy again and just go through those.
Yeah,
But yeah, it looks really fun because I mean, really, Crash Bandicoot is just an endless runner,
it is.
just
That's the
without
thing.
the control being taken away from you. Um, so I think it'll work really well. Something I wish that would happen, because I do play games on my mobile quite often, and something I wish that would be done is that they step away from this free to play sort of model where there's loads of microtransactions, like ridiculously grindy things, and because I'm terrible, I'll especially on Google phones where you get like loads of credit given to you if you like answer surveys, and they make it
Mm.
so easy to buy things. I'm a sucker for little microtransactions and crappy little games. Um, I wish that they would just start charging like I don't know, like £10 or £15 for like these games, and um, just don't give me any microtransactions. You know, I'd happily pay for games on my phone
Yeah.
easily. These phones are so powerful, and there's some really innovative touch controls that are seen in some of these games, and screens are just getting better and better with the touch stuff as well. You know, I'd happily pay for a decent game that's actually designed around being fun and not designed around being annoying, so that you pay to get rid of the annoying stuff. Um, yeah, and I mean, like, just going back to sort of the thing I'm developing at the moment, the graphic novel. You know, I'm gonna end up, you know, charging maybe like 99p or whatever for it, because there's gonna be no microtransactions, there's gonna be no adverts. It's just gonna be, you know, an experience that's designed around being a good experience. Not, I think there's too much incentive of designing things around, you know, what can we do to make somebody want to buy this? What can we do to make them want to pay this instead of grinding it out? And I'd love to see more and more mobile games that are designed around being real games rather than being ways to grab your cash.
That's true. They kind of created this lane where that's exactly what they've been doing since, the really like the Apple Marketplace kind of kicked off
Yeah,
everything years ago.
yeah,
You're right. I mean, now's the time where if they want to be taken more seriously, which they should, you hit all the bullet points where they now have the phone hardware to handle like just better graphical experiences. They can run well, and they're just more involved. And so why not charge a normal, I guess create that standard for a mobile game, but where everything's unlocked and it's all
yeah,
there. There's no creepy microtransactions, and it's just all available. But you'd have to imagine the reason why they don't do that is because there's so much money involved with charging
yeah.
what they do or doing the same practice as what they've been doing. Where that's why they hold off, because it's like, yeah, we could charge $10, but we just make so much money off of kids that
Exactly.
accidentally
Yeah.
buy things, with their parents' credit card, and so they just want to keep it rolling.
And people like me who are just have no willpower and will play
Yeah.
like a crappy game for about 2 days and spend like £14 on it. Yeah, it's annoying. But the thing that annoys me mostly is just how predatory it really is. Because I have no, I don't really have massive problems with microtransactions or anything, but it's when they literally design the game around that. Like that's
Mm,
like the core mechanic of the game is how can we make people pay money for it. Um, which I just find like completely like immoral and
yeah.
unethical. I think it's not how games should be designed. And like the amount of games I'll download, and like I'll feel like I'm being, even if the game's good, I'll feel like I'm being sort of roped in. Like I'll be like, what's the catch here? Like when's this game gonna hit a wall where I have to pay to do something, or when's this game gonna you know, do something that is gonna make it unenjoyable unless I spend some money.
Right.
And it's just a shame to have that feeling every time I download a game. But yeah, it's a shame. But yeah, but Crash Bandicoot game looks cool. I'm sure it'll probably be free and probably have loads of um, grinding to do and unlockable things. Especially it's made by King, isn't it? Who do Candy Crush? Is it?
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
And well, I mean, they've probably made like enough money to buy a country. So
Yeah.
we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, no, I'm excited for it, to be honest. That'll be good fun. I like endless runners, and there hasn't been a decent one in a while. So yeah, all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and I mean that's the best kind of video game property that transcends over into like an endless runner kind of thing, because that's he kind of started that,
Yeah,
that gameplay type with the running in Crash Bandicoot. So it's a no brainer. So yeah, no, I mean it's cool as long as they kind of because there's gonna be microtransactions, as long as they balance it into a way that's not just taking advantage of people. But we'll see. I feel like
yeah,
Candy Crush overall lets you play for free for the most part, and then you can
yeah,
add little things. It's been a while since I played it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, to be fair, and with endless runners as well, I mean that they're the only things you grind for are cosmetic stuff.
yeah,
So it's not like the levels are going to be locked until you get to a certain level, which is going to take you like 4 hours of replaying the exact same level over and over. So yeah, so I think endless runners are pretty safe in that respect. The microtransactions aren't there to make the game worse. They're there to just for people who like the cosmetic stuff. Um, Which I do, but I don't think I'd care with Crash Bandicoot because I don't really like. I don't feel like I'd want to customize him and play as like a blue Crash, which I think I saw in the trailer. I think I'd
Right.
just want to play as him. So that could be quite a safe one for my wallet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, Cal, we'll end it there. You know what is happening next week is I'm not sure if you're going to try and get it day one, but Ghost of Tsushima launches next
Yes.
Friday.
Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be cool to. I mean, I don't know how much how into it you're going to be, but I'll definitely be getting it day one, and it's one of my most anticipated games of the year. So I'm definitely up for if you want to do a spoiler cast on it or another
Hmm.
thing like we did with The Last of Us, I'll be up for that. I
Yeah.
think it's a huge, obviously it's a huge PlayStation property, so I think we'd be compelled to do it anyway. But yeah, I'll definitely be up for it. I'm really excited. It's sort of really well, yeah, is it 5 days now? Is it the 14th it comes out?
The 17th. So next
Seven.
next Friday. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So a week tomorrow. Oh, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's really, really close. Very excited. Very, very excited indeed.
Me as well. Yeah. So I can't wait, and I think I was way more excited after watching that one that state of play where they showed off the
Oh
gameplay
yeah,
and
for
just
sure.
really kind of
Yeah.
leaned into it. Yeah. I wonder if they were better off. Sony was better off like uh, putting this further away from The Last of Us. I guess it's fair. It was like it's basically been like a month ish. But I wonder
Yeah.
if they could have handled putting it further into summer, kind of spread, because this is a huge, first party exclusive.
Yeah.
Especially as we get closer to it, we now see what it is. Like, I wonder if they should have pushed it further out, but I'm not
I don't
sure.
know. I feel like it's pretty good. I mean, I think I might be just trying to sound more clever than I am, but I'm pretty sure I said before that I feel like that's a good amount of time between them because everyone Last of Us 2 is such a big thing that people are going to just consume it straight away, which is what I did. I played it over one weekend, and I know a lot of people were the same, and you took your time with it a bit more, but you still finished it, with a lot of time to spare before Ghost comes out.
That's true.
So yeah, I think it's good because it's like the conversation's starting to die down. I mean, the conversation's been obviously going on for ages and ages about Last of Us 2 with all the drama it's caused and everything.
Right.
But I think it's starting to, ember die out now, and I think it's a good time for something else to come in and hopefully create some positivity around PlayStation as well. Not saying Last of Us 2 caused negativity around PlayStation, just it's been a very volatile place, those kind of discussions. So yeah, I think it's good timing, but I think there's arguments for it to be for it to have been spread out more as well.
Yeah, I wonder. And it's really not a big complaint or anything at all. It's just because
Mm.
this thing is so huge, maybe they would have helped them by spreading it away. But no, it's great. And it's such a great cap on first party exclusives because I think this is about it for PS4, right? With the Ghost of Tsushima, I don't think anything else is on the
Yeah,
dock
it's
for
not it's not
PS4.
a huge amount coming out. I think the only games that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, obviously I'll get Cyberpunk when that comes, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But aside from that, I think the only other two games really I'm looking forward to is that Returnal from Housemarque and
True.
the what was it called? The Ascent, maybe the Ascent, which was shown at that Xbox thing. It was which at first I thought was a Housemarque game, that twin stick shooting
Oh, okay.
cyberpunk sort of. I think that looks really cool as well. So yeah, so it's quite nice. It's nice to not have many games to look forward to in a way because it means I can, work for Assassin's Creed. I just bought Pillars of Eternity as well, the Obsidian RPG.
Oh, nice.
So I'm gonna start them as well. So I've got a bit of time to just chill out and play some games that I've always wanted to play.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and really, this is it for like first party stuff for
Yeah.
PS4. So this is a good way to
Oh yeah.
cap that entire generation. It really was it. I think The Last of Us was the final cap on the PS3. So this is kind of
Yeah.
a fitting cap on PS4. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm excited, and it kind of caught me off guard how excited I actually felt after watching
Yeah.
that state of play. So I'm
Yeah.
super
I
stoked.
wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't too hyped until we watched that, and from then I've been like, I can't wait.
I know the embargo lifts next week at some point, so I'm sure before we record next week, we'll see what the game reviewers out there what they felt, all the big outlets. So we'll see. I have heard it's
Yeah.
like a 30, 40-ish hour game, so it's pretty lengthy.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be interested to see how what are you sort of anticipating? Like what sort of what do you think the Metacritic score is going to sit at?
I mean, this I feel like it's demanding a lot. It's trying to do a lot, especially with the story, with the open world aspect, how beautiful it is. I mean, I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised at nines, at at that kind of that
Yeah,
peak level. Like maybe not the same scale of Last of Us, um, but that's maybe keep my hopes lower. But maybe they do achieve that. But yeah, I wouldn't say like an 8 9 ish from what I've seen so
yeah,
far. That's assuming everything runs well and it's not
it's,
janky or have other
yeah.
like issues with performance.
Obviously, it's like completely hypothetical at
Right.
the moment, anyway. 'Cause we obviously don't know at all how good it's going to be. But yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if it's any lower than like I don't know, like late 70s, early 80s, or in on the sort of Metacritic. And but I'd
Right.
also be surprised if it was like in the 90s. I mean, that'd be a very pleasant surprise. But um, yeah, I think it looks great. Yeah, I'm really excited, and it's a good, like I said, I've been playing loads of sci-fi, so I'm looking forward to playing something a bit more uh what's the word when something's set in like a certain period?
I guess like a not a period piece, but like God, there
Yeah,
is a
it's a word
term for
that would
that.
have worked really well. Then it would have made me sound really smart, but now I sound really stupid.
Well, welcome to my world, Callum. That's how I function normally. All right, man. Yeah, we'll end it there. Where can they find you online?
Twitter at Bear Munro is normally where I lurk.
Awesome. You can keep up with the show on Twitter as well, Plastic Heart Pod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.
See you later.